Hello mateys, welcome back to another episode, and this one's on how to be original. I need to take these shoes off because honestly I feel constrained when I'm wearing shoes. Also, why am I wearing shoes inside? I don't know. So last night I couldn't sleep and it was literally one of those nights where my brain was just on and I just kept ruminating on anything and everything, but mostly about what I was going to talk about today. I'm always consuming things online. I'm always being influenced by things online. I'm saving videos that I find interesting. And I just love learning from strangers online. I love when someone has an expertise or if someone has an original take. I love having perspective shifts because of that. And now that I'm becoming a creator online, I want to discover how I can bring out that own originality that I have onto YouTube in this case. I recently saw this comment online about a woman who wanted to make makeup tutorials in 2008 or 2009 or something like that. And she felt like the market was oversaturated at that point. And she thought that there were too many people making makeup tutorials, not knowing that it literally boomed in like 2016, so like 7 or 8 years later. It's so funny how we think that there's so much out there already and that there's no way to give our own original voice or twist to it, or that we'd be copying if we started doing that same thing. When there's so much space left for us to do that, there's so much space for a different kind of voice or persona to be out there, a different way of delivering something, a different way of doing something, while having a strong format like a makeup tutorial as a concept to work from. I think most of us have stopped ourselves from making something because we thought it might be too similar to something else that's already out there. And then I think we get to thinking about what is copying really, what is originality, and how do I personally express that? And obviously we don't want to be a copycat or an exact replica of someone or someone's ideas. And we want to find our own voices and we want to be creative and we want to put ourselves out there. That leads to us thinking, how can I add my own voice or my own creativity to this project or thing or whatever you're working on? How can we be more original in this world when we're constantly being influenced by literal influencers, but also just by everything around us? As far as I know, a baby doesn't invent a language. It copies from people, parents around them by copying their sounds, mimicking them back to them, and doing that over and over and over again. Yeah, babies are perfect copiers. They love pretending to be their parents. They'll say the same things their parents say. They'll move the same way their parents do. And it's really fun for parents to see how they can see their partners reflected in their child, because the kids are so good at copying them. Your brain just doesn't create from nothing. It usually combines things from experiences it's had before and reconfigures those into new ones. Expecting yourself to be this original creative being without having a proper base or training or foundation of knowledge and being able to copy that is like expecting a baby to freestyle a language. It's just, I don't know if babies can, but they're probably not very good at it. Copying in itself isn't actually a problem. A lot of the times it can be really good for you. And a lot of times as well, there's no problem in stopping there. If you're at the gym and you want a good workout and you've learned how to do that and you're done. You've learned how to do it and that's it. But if you're trying to be a creative, copying is not the end point. That's the point where you've learned something, but it's not the point where you now start creating and copying exactly what you've learned. You have to give your own twist to it. So that means that you as a creative cannot stop there. Shallow copying is very obvious. It literally looks identical to the original, or it has like one little tweak, but basically it's the same. You copy the format, the aesthetics, the words, whatever it is, it looks pretty much the same. A less obvious form of copying is taking an underlying structure, the thinking or the mechanism of something, maybe a stylistic choice. It's less obvious that it's copied and it's leaning more towards taking inspiration from. So a good example of a shallow copy would be seeing a dance on TikTok and learning that dance exactly, filming it and putting it online without changing anything, not the songs, not the steps, just straight copy. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone loves a good, you know, TikTok dance that other people have done before, but that is what a shallow copy of something is. Obviously, it's you doing it and not that other person, so that makes it different, but other than that, it's the same. A bad way of doing a shallow copy would be to change the steps slightly, or maybe just putting them in a different order and then putting a different song on it, or maybe keeping the same song, and then putting that online pretending that you've now created something new, when really it still looks almost identical to the original, and other people can see that it looks almost identical to the original. Or if you're making a video where you have a script and then you can see that someone else basically literally has the exact same script that you have made for your own video. It's a shallow copy and you're not giving credit. It's just not a really clean way to do it. I think copying and jealousy are very much linked, in that jealousy is, I want something that that person or that creator has or has done, and I want that for me instead of for them. And I want to be credited for that idea or that way of thinking or that whatever it is. And it almost wants to take away the credit of the original creator. It's kind of like a leech wanting to take without giving anything in return or giving any credit of where it's getting its energy or source or inspiration from. A straight copier asks, what did they make exactly, and how can I make something exactly like this? Or how can I make something like this? Someone who's a bit more in a path of wanting to take inspiration from other people but not wanting to copy asks questions like, what did this unlock in me? And why did this make me feel excited or creative or happy? And then wanting to create from that thing that has been unlocked in them. It might not even be anything that has to do with what that creator talked about. They could be talking about bikes and it made them feel excited about going on holiday and having a trip somewhere with their friends. Like, it's not about copying the exact story or the exact thing, but finding what has unlocked in themselves and why they feel inspired and what other associations in themselves are coming up because of the thing that they've been inspired by. So another example of this would be hearing about someone online who's sharing a story about being vulnerable. A copier might think, I should talk about that too. That exact thing that's been on my mind. I've experienced something like that. I should talk about that too. I think taking inspiration from would look like hearing something vulnerable and thinking, where am I holding back? What areas in my life could I have more courage to express? Yeah, I think it just hits a bit more of a reflective tone. It's trying to figure out what parts of yourself are being activated by listening or seeing or hearing whatever it is you've been listening to, hearing or seeing. I think that inspiration turns you more inwards before you can express outwardly, and copying is kind of looking sideways all of the time and looking at what's that person doing, and not looking at what you want to be doing enough. People that you and I find original probably aren't avoiding influence. They're probably just better at transforming it by expressing curiosity towards themselves better. Also, I think there's a misconception that inspiration just comes to you, and some people are more blessed in that department than others, and you shouldn't have to effort as much to be original, be creative, or any of those things. And yes, there are some people who find inspiration and connect those dots towards their own creativity more easily. I just think that's a case of them having nurtured that more, whether they've done that as a child more, or their parents encouraged them, or they've just practiced more with their own creativity, and they can find those connections in their brain just a bit quicker by having nurtured it more. Creativity in any form takes effort and it takes time. And effort doesn't need to imply that something is difficult or hard. It just means that you're putting work towards something, that you're trying to do something, and that you've put your attention there or your actions there and you're doing something. Yeah, you have to put effort, you have to put work into something, and you can't just think that ideas will come to you without you trying to find the idea as well. I think sometimes by taking the time to find an idea, it comes to you more easily and it starts to unravel itself more and more because you've held its attention and you're wanting to discover more about it, and you're asking your brain the right questions to find more information. Actually, in my experience, creativity definitely starts to pour out more and more and more the longer you're actually working on something. And I remember as a child, we had this like mind map where you circle a subject and then you write like little associations you have with that word or that subject. I found that in the beginning I had a couple of things that I could write around it, and then afterwards I'd kind of fall silent and people around me would fall silent and we wouldn't know what to write on it anymore. And then after a little while, it's like we have this like up and then this dip, and then came all the great ideas. I felt like all the great ideas that we've had have been because we've thought about them a bit longer and we've had time to kind of focus in on the idea and take time to unravel it more, take time to find new and interesting associations. And especially when you're thinking out loud or you're thinking with other people, saying the wrong idea leads to different other ideas, and making new connections and finding new associations or ways of going into that idea. So yeah, it's like your brain gets activated to be in this creative mode and it starts syncing up with other people, and you get into this like, you get on the same brainwave basically. And yeah, it's just a lovely way of putting ideas together and making new connections and associating new and different things with each other. In this example, we have something like a video or a song or a person, just something or someone that we feel inspired by. Like I said earlier, one of the first questions you can ask yourself is, what did this unlock in me? What memories, what feelings, anything that has, come up in your brain, what has it unlocked in you? The second question could be, why did I feel excited to create? Why did I feel lit up seeing or hearing or experiencing this? Another question could be, what's something unrelated I can bring into this? Am I drawing from multiple sources? Am I looking at different kinds of ideas that connect with the one that I've just seen? Then lastly, have I given myself time to sit on this idea without any distractions? Have I let myself marinate, basically? So a way to go about the last one would be to let the idea sit, and then maybe a day after you try and reconstrue the idea from memory, and it might come out completely different and you might have new thoughts that you're connecting to that idea. At the very least, you should just be writing everything down, maybe making a mood board, writing down quotes, finding lyrics that inspire you, and just researching basically. Find some space and time to actually research and put all of those things together. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be exactly the thing that you're trying to create, but just finding different sources already helps it not be exactly a copy of that one thing that you felt inspired by in the first place. After all those questions and maybe like making a mood board or things like that, I think the next step is to expose yourself widely and then stop consuming at all. Creativity is largely combinational. So it's putting things together that might not usually be put together. It might be making connections that are unexpectedly aligned or very, very similar to each other. I think one that I could think of is like having salted caramel chocolate. I think whoever thought to put salt in chocolate was kind of a daredevil, right? Because I remember hearing about salted caramel and just being like, salt in my chocolate? I love chocolate. Why would I want something salt with something sweet? But I absolutely love it. And I love that that person just tried that out and it worked out so well, because now I get to enjoy my salted caramel chocolate. So it's just making new combinations. It's, yeah, just being an inventor, basically. And to be an inventor, we have to transform something. So once you've kind of made an outline of what you want to create or your idea, or maybe you've already worked something out, it's good to ask yourself, did I actually add something or did I just refine something that was already made? Those two things aren't the same thing. If you're actually creating something, let's say you're writing an essay for a paper at university, yes, you're crediting all these sources to back up your own research, but also there's something that you need to add to the conversation. So it can't just be basically a summary and a copy of other people who have done research. It has to be added value that you're bringing to the table. The next step is to give credits to anything that you want to blatantly copy because you liked it so much. And you don't need to credit everything. I mean, some ideas are everywhere, some ideas are just common knowledge, and some things are just things you've absorbed over time. But be honest, if you're hoping that this is something that another person won't see, that's where you know you need to credit something because you already know that you've copied something from them and that they might be upset if they saw that you copied them without giving credit to them. And the beautiful thing is that I trust people who want to give credit and who want to acknowledge other people. And I think it's a very beautiful thing when people share who they're inspired by, and you can then, let's say you're a viewer or you're a consumer of that thing, you can then find other people that you'd like to connect with or whose ideas you'd want to connect with as well. I don't necessarily trust people who say they don't have any influence from anywhere, because that's just probably not true. Ideas can have a source, and it's important that we do acknowledge the source that an idea has come from. We're wanting to learn and expand together, and I think it's a beautiful thing to uplift others in the process if we can do that, right? So any kind of ethical, I guess, copying isn't about being 100% original. It's about giving credit where credit is due. Lastly, there's a little segment that I wanted to talk about, and that's kind of, I guess, a bit of an imposter syndrome, which is, are my ideas good enough? Are they interesting enough? Are they... We kind of want things to be like groundbreaking and new when we present them to the world, or perfected into this little package of goodness. A lot of people don't realize that they actually have a lot of great ideas during the day, but they might just question themselves. You might be questioning yourself all the time, thinking, is this good enough? Is this interesting enough? Is this new enough? Who am I to say this or do this? And in some cases, you might be valid. Like, there are scenarios that you can think of where, you know, you doing or saying something might not be the best messenger, or it might just not be a good idea after you've, you know, actually explored it and dissected it. A lot of the time it's just fear. It might be a fear of not being fully informed, which can be helped by actually being informed so you can back yourself up. It might just be a fear of, you know, not having explored all facets of ourselves, not having gathered all of the information that we could to perfect this thing that we're working on. And it's a good thing to realize that it doesn't actually have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfectly informed or the most talented person ever to do this thing. I'm sure there are thousands and millions of singers out there who think they're not as good as some famous person who's a singer, and they might still be good enough to become famous and to have hit songs and to enjoy their life as a singer. So don't talk yourself out of it too much, because yeah, that's so disappointing, and you want to do something, go and do it. A clean breakdown of what we have discussed today is that if you're just repeating something, you're copying. If you repeat and understand and question something, you're learning. And if you repeat, so you give credit as well, you understand, you question, you transform it, and you express it, then you're a creator. Well done, you've done it. That might be a good guide to help you out. And it's good to remember that as a kid, you've learned to copy. You can still do that now, and you can still do it to your and other people's benefit. It doesn't have to be this negative, awful, jealous spiral thing. It can be, doesn't have to be. So in conclusion, I don't think the goal is to dismiss any influences, any outside forces that want to influence you. I think it's understanding what to do with the influence and learning how to navigate the process of being influenced and to express it in a lovely way. Thank you all for watching if you got this far. Obviously I'm going to say like and subscribe as well, so like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next one. I hope you have a wonderful day, evening, morning, night, and I'll speak to you guys next time. Bye.